Welcome to Web Handling. My name is Dave Roysum. I am super excited to continue our new mini-series on machine speed concerns. In this week's show, we will talk about a topic that should be of great interest to almost everybody in a plant, namely the relationship between speed and productivity. This subject includes discussion of time cycle analysis, gathering data, stochastic modeling, grade changes, scheduling, as well as common myths among operators and management. I know your time is precious, so let's get started. A good communicator begins with a wish list of goals he or she wishes to accomplish. A great communicator goes one step further, and that is to make a narrative or storyline that connects the elements. Since this subject is more involved than almost any I teach, it will take a bit more thought up front to come up with that connection. What will be the theme of the story? I know. It is complexity. That is the story of productivity analysis. As such, we will not have the time to dive into the details here. Instead, we will just give you an overview of just some of the things to think about. Of course, productivity depends on machine speed. However, it is much more complicated than merely saying, if I increase speed by 10%, then I will increase saleable output by 10%. Indeed, sometimes productivity will in fact decrease as you increase machine speed. I'm going to begin with what is probably the most studied converting machine and the one I'm most familiar with, the rewinder. However, please note that the principles we illustrate here are valid for all manufacturing and converting lines. The first thing you will notice when studying a machine is that it starts and it stops. It may stop for any number of reasons, but on a rewinder, the most likely stop is for daughter role changes. And the next most common is for master role changes. Here I show 3 daughter roles per master. But your rewinder operation may be 1-to-1 or 10-to-1 or something else entirely. For other machines, you may have simple grade changes, such as changing width or weight, which might be done quickly, and others, such as changing chemistries, that might take a bit longer. Next, we take the required inputs and put them into a spreadsheet to calculate various productivity metrics. You may not need to write the spreadsheet program for a rewinder because there is a gorgeous Avid app that I helped craft. It is free, so check it out. Also, my students who have taken my advanced winding course will have seen all of the details on how to do this. In any case, this is called an idealized time cycle because it greatly simplifies, perhaps oversimplifies the real world of man-machine material systems. Still, this approach is the best place to begin your productivity analysis journey. However, if you study the system a bit more, you will notice that the rewinder, or any machine for that matter, is down for reasons other than role changes. Many other reasons. Ignoring these other things may mean that the analysis woefully overpredicts productivity. We all know what the first 3 letters of assume are. We don't want to assume the required inputs without checking them. This is far, far harder than you might think. Take art, however. I teach a super simple super fast way of getting real-world productivity inputs. I developed this technique that I call time cycles by walking around. I teach that to all my advanced winding students, but we don't have time to do that here, perhaps in another show. So far, we have mostly talked about deterministic modeling, where every cycle is the same as the last and that the inputs are some sort of average. However, life is far more complicated. To take the next step, we may need to do industrial simulation, where inputs are allowed to be variable about some distribution. This model then generates Monte Carlo simulation thousands or millions of times to look at how often several inputs might be longer than the average in a particular set of adjacent cycles, causing the machine to shut down the upstream machine or fail to meet order deadlines. Even more complicated may be the sequence of orders that come to a line. This is known as scheduling and is so complicated that no commercial computer model does this well, even though IBM and many others have tried. Instead, scheduling is mostly done by humans with all the attendant variability that arises from their best guesses and judgment calls. Yes, of course, computers will do some of the work by doing some of the prioritization, but in the end, humans will often override the computer schedules for any number of human reasons. I had the opportunity to chat over some beers with one of my 5,000 students who was, for a time, a scheduler, and she confirmed my guesses about what goes on there. Since this is a man-machine material system, we must at least make mention of one common but paralyzing myth shared by many, many operators. That is, the false dilemma of, do you want it fast or do you want it good? Even worse may be paralyzing myths shared by many, many managers. That is, if we could just speed up the machine a bit, saleable productivity will also increase a bit. This is often just not the case because management is not familiar with the distribution of events that cause blocking, starving, jams, and breakdowns, to name just a few productivity roadblocks. I go into much more detail on productivity analysis in my Web 101 course, modules 23A through C. You can see some of that for free on this All Web Handling channel of YouTube in shows Web 201.62A and B. Stay tuned and I will likely add more. Also, check out my course and my book titled Critical Thinking and Converting. And of course, check out the free Winder Productivity Calculator on Avid Apps to give you some tips on how to do simple analysis on a spreadsheet. I hope you have enjoyed this geek out on productivity analysis. I have found from quite a bit of early personal experience that productivity models can be as complicated or even more complicated than PhD level winding models. Stay tuned for next week's show where we will discuss the 3 physical limits to machine speed. If you have a topic you would like to hear about, let me know in the comment section below. If you found anything interesting or useful here, please like and share and subscribe. See you next time.